you would call, yellow back then or light skin, whatever.
Right.
He was caramel. So I was just like, what? It just blew my mind. Because, of course, we did relationship stuff. You know what I mean? I didn't met your family. So it was really, I was so bamboozled that he felt that way. And that's what he was actually looking for, but never said it to me. Because I don't want you to be with me and I'm just second choice. That's not what I'm looking for. Right. And so it was a hard hit to my self-esteem, to say the least.
Hey, what's up? It's your boy, Stephen K33. Look, this is an amazing episode. Very interesting topic focus. We're dealing with colorism. Obviously, this is business-tainment, but colorism affects business. It's not a left-leaning focus. It's not a right-leaning focus. As we say on the show, not left, not right, just life. And we want to discuss these life issues that impact business, society, love, and all the above. We have an amazing author, somebody that is a corporate professional, is doing her thing out in Atlanta, Georgia. So sit back and enjoy the show. Awesome, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of It Is What It Is podcast. I am your host, Cody Kelly. And if you're watching this, the election is over, thank God, because I'm tired of seeing all these political ads. We have an amazing guest, an amazing episode, but I did vote. I always vote. I'm not going to tell you who to vote for, but you need to go out there and vote. But if you want to keep seeing amazing episodes like this, amazing content, amazing leaders, you know what you got to do? Connect with your boy. Subscribe to the YouTube page. Now they made it easy. YouTube now has hashtags. The hashtag is CBMK. The initials it's the acronym, is the CBMK. That's the channel you need to subscribe to. Connect with your boy on the new Instagram page. It is what it is _show. And on the other pages, it is CBMK33 and CBMK _global. TikTok, CBMK Globe, Cody's Life 1 or Cody's _life 1 on Twitter. And we're the best supplements are. About the pre-workout with me, the superpower, best pre-workout on the market, and Warrior Thirst. It's a vibe. I'm telling you, it's a vibe. Vegan protein, all the above at www.c as in Cody, V as in Vernon, M as in Marshall, K as in Kelly, global.store. With that being said, I have an amazing guest, a new author who just released her book, self-published, and it has been an amazing journey reading this. With that being said, I've said that like 2 or 3 times now. I'm introducing to some and presenting to others, Carrie Jemii. Carrie, how are you doing today?
Great. I'm glad you pronounced my name correctly. That is amazing. Kudos points.
No, I try.
That's okay.
So, Carrie, you've been on here before. You are familiar with the format layout. Hopefully you should be subscribed to the YouTube page. If you're not, I'm always amazed at my guests who aren't. And I'm like, you ought to go be on the show. You ain't subscribed to the page. I subscribe. I appreciate that. But for them that do not know, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Oh, wow. That could be a loaded question for some people because they're like, how are you doing all that? But I am a not-for-profit founder of I'm Pretty Too, which is an empowerment young program for young women. I'm now expounding on that with my new book, but that will be launching sometime in November, but I'll have something for older women coming soon. I am also a part-time realtor for Caldwell Banker. So if you in the Georgia area looking to sell or buy a home, even rent, please look me up. And full-time, I have another job. I work at Equifax. I'm a consultant for them. And I also assist my partner from before when I was full-time entrepreneur with his businesses. So I'm pretty busy all the time. So
busy is the key word. That's great. We're going to get into the book. We're going to get into the depths, the real in-depthness of the book. But a word from our sponsors.
There's a hero in all of us waiting to be unleashed. All it takes is just that one last push. Activate the hero within with CVMK Global Supplements. All natural, steroid-free, designed to enhance performance, build muscle, and increase energy. You are unstoppable. You can do this. Become your own hero at www.cvmkglobal.store.
Awesome, man. We're back. Hey, www.cvmkglobal.store. Superpower, Warrior Thirst, Transform, Saucy, Super Thick. The creatine is out. Get it today. So, you read it. Thank you for sending it. Because I don't like when guests want me to highlight the book and I know nothing about the book. And I got to make this up about a thin air. So it was very transparent. You exposed a lot. And there were things I wanted you to go down. There were paths that, as a reader, I was like, how much are you going to convey to the audience? And then there were some stories that I was like, oh, this is, that takes real gall to do. So let's start easy. Okay. Let's start with a very simple truth. Why did you write this book?
So I've been wanting to write this book for years. When I was a little girl, like I said in the book, I knew I had a story in me because I knew this could not be the end. As I was getting bullied and teased every day, I said, oh, it got to be, what does it say? Pot of gold on the other side of the rainbow, So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to write about this later. I know I'm going to have a good life and I'll write about this later. When it comes to colorism and other things that I addressed in the book, I wouldn't knew that I was going to write about that. I didn't know at the time when the whole idea of writing a book came about in my spirit that I would be writing about these particular subjects. However, as I grew up, those became more prevalent, and the experiences that I had based on colorism and different things like that became more prevalent. So as I wrote the book, I wrote it out of a place of brokenness, really. I still was kind of broken when I wrote some of the chapters. So it was very difficult when I was putting a book together because I had wrote pieces before throughout my life journey. Sure. So some of the pieces I had to, change a little bit because I was mature. And I even had to go back after I read it. So I read it and I had to go to therapy right away. It took me to some very, very, very dark places in my life. And so when I went back and read it after therapy and a lot of self-talk and everything else, I like to call it looking through it with a healed eye. Yeah. I did change some things. So the first book probably would have had everybody like, are you serious? So it really is a softer version of the first version that actually was written from a place of brokenness.
So, I'm reading the book. You start off with the story of the yellow dress, riding the school bus. In the memory, I think it was picture day. I think that's how you framed it. And the yellow dress. And you really liked this yellow dress. And what ended up occurring. You used words. I'm confused on the audience who specifically, called you these words. Like, because when I read it, it's almost like it's colorism. So I'm assuming that it's groups or individuals of color, but I don't want to take it for granted. So
let me just say this. Colorism is also, the definition in itself is when someone favors a different complexion and treats them differently for that reason. The same way racism is white against black or any race against another race, right? So when kids are teasing me, it wasn't necessarily, I don't want to say colorism per se. They were just calling me out my name because I was dark skinned. So they had their nicknames, Tar Baby, and when the lights go off on a like when I was with my family, sometimes the lights would go off on the buses that we would take out of town for family reunions, and they'd be like, oh, "Where's Carrie? We can't see her. Smile, Carrie." I don't think that those are considered colorism more than it's just teasing because you're dark. So to answer your question, sure. It would be from people that look like me. Yes, but they were Black people. And sometimes they were even close people, family. So,
wow. Yeah. So first of all, I'm sorry, as the only thing that can muster up right now in my mind. This is a terrible experience, terrible just actions. So, you're going through this and, the name calling, and you explicitly state Blackie, you said these things, you said what they called you. As a developing adult, how did that, because you mentioned this phrase like it'll get better. Was this a self, I looked in the mirror like it's not that bad? How did you get through all these traumatic experiences without losing it?
Great question. I did lose it. I mean, in short, I had a lot of moments. And I had a lot of friends that without the title had to be a therapist. They were like, they already do so much. And even when as a young person, they're my age. And I'm like, explaining them to what's going on. And they can't give me the right answers because their maturity level wasn't there yet, which is another reason why I created I'm Pretty Too, because I didn't have an I'm Pretty Too. I had no one to express how to get through what I am enduring right now. My mother was not my complexion. She could not, I did not identify with her, and I didn't put that in the book because I didn't want to think I was attacking my mother. So when you put things in words, it could be translated any kind of way. So yeah. I didn't put it in there, but I knew I would speak about it verbally to say that, I couldn't identify with her. So I had resentment with her because I'm like, well, who's going to help me? You know what I mean? So she brought over my father's sister a couple of times to help me, who's dark skinned like my dad. And, she would tell me certain things, but she wasn't there with me daily. That one-off visit, 2-off visits, it's like, that's not enough. So as I got older, I just had to really just heal from within. It was a lot of journaling. I journaled. I had a diary all the time, and I would come home and talk about the experiences. And I developed what I call the biggest, what you call it in the Bible, the thorn in your side that he dealt with.
Yeah, thorn in the flesh, yeah.
Yeah, I had that for years, which was depression. And I literally, as I've got older, been yanking and pulling at it so that it can go away. Because once you develop depression, it don't just go away because you're over a certain issue. Sure. It now becomes that thing that you kind of clutched on. You know what I mean? So I had to go to some therapy. I had to really take it serious. And the biggest thing someone told me in therapy was I had to go back to these dark places in time and talk to that little girl in those times. Little girl at 6 years old, the little girl at 12, the little girl at 17. I had to go talk to all of them and heal each woman, each girl, each young woman at a time. And that was difficult. But as doing that, that's how I was able to kind of bring it together and be kind of whole. And to today, some of my friends are watching this. I want to be honest. I still deal with some things. Don't get me wrong, especially when it comes to colorism, because it's subtle now, but it's still blatant to someone who's dark skinned.
Is it subtle? Is it because
they try to be subtle, but
they try to be only because even in my experience, I realize and accept the fact that certain things has occurred to me or has not occurred to me because I'm a little lighter, right? So and my name is Cody, my last name is Kelly, and I fit a mode and persona that is more accepting within these United States of America.
Oh, I get you. Yeah.
But it's because of that. So I say it's not as abrasive, but it's still there. It's like you just don't feel the needle go in. There's a story that you bring up that really I had to read it twice because I didn't believe it. And I didn't know where you really wanted to go. Mm-hmm. Because I felt like it was a hard chapter and experience for you to really put on page or put in writing. And I was kind of confused about how in depth you wanted to go with this story, because you do go in depth. Mm-hmm. This story carries past this chapter, but you don't, and maybe out of good faith, out of, trying to protect the individual. I get it. But your reasons, I just want to understand. You mentioned dating. You mentioned, attracting to lighter skinned individuals, maybe because you felt like it was some sense of validation. And then there was this guy that you dated that you mentioned. You said he did all the right things, even said he was going to make you the one. I think that's an exact quote. Even said he was going to make you the one. Yeah. But then he brings you to the mirror. Mm-hmm. Am I quoting this correctly? Mm-hmm. And says this statement that I'm still trying to, as a man, think this is terrible. Like, I don't know how you get away with it. And then it continues. The relationship continues. So, and then you open up the new chapter with Black Planet, right? Mm-hmm. Just to find he gets married, but then he starts engaging in activities with you and not knowing. So he's being catfished. This is
no.
So he knows.
No, he's not married.
No, I thought you said no. He wasn't married. He was talking to somebody.
Right.
Black Planet. Right. He was talking. My apologies. He was talking to somebody. And then you changed your profile pic, so he thought it was somebody else who's being catfished, and you just wanted to know why, right? Like in an investigative way. So walk us through this whole scenario, and then my question after you walk us through it is, how has this experience shaped you going forward?
Okay, let me make sure I write that down. So pretty much that was the summary. Like you said, I didn't go really deep with it as far as the story, because I was trying to capture snippets of different stories, right? And I only think I caught maybe 3 in that chapter of situations with men and colorism. And well, the second one wasn't with colorism. It was abuse. It was being an abusive relationship.
Right.
So with this particular person, I was super hopeful. Like it was, I just knew we was going to get married. I just knew it was happening. You could not have told me otherwise that this was not going to happen. Sure. And my family was like, "Oh, you so gun ho." Like I have people. You know how people are when you date somebody for a while and they don't see the progression that you see in your head. Because in your head, you're like, women, we call people the one a lot when we're younger. When you're a teenager, you date people in your 20s, you like a lot of people. You end up loving a lot of people who think you in love, right? So that was in that situation. But regardless of what people were saying around me, at this in my heart, I'm like, this is where we're going with this, right? Yeah. And so So I put a lot into this person, like stuff that I don't want to say, right? Because I don't want him to be embarrassed he might not even admit to being this person, but people will know who he is if I gave out information, right? Sure. So, but in the process of me being so vulnerable in our relationship and so kind of very passive, he was like, hey, we was at my condo and he pushed me in the bathroom. He was like, look, you need to stay here and look in the mirror because I'm going to step out. So he stepped out in the hallway. You know, I'm in the bathroom. He's in the hallway. He's like, you need to look in the mirror at yourself because you are putting too much, you're putting too much of yourself in me. Mm-hmm. He's like, I'm not your world. You are. So it was a positive moment. Okay. It was just, I was just like, what? Nobody, I don't know anybody that would have done anything in that magnitude to wake you up and say, hey, you don't have to be that into me, right? You know what I mean? So from that situation, I started to kind of fall in love a little bit more, like, oh, wow, he really cares about me and he really wants to have me in his life. But when a woman always knows, which I talk about in this book, always has intuition. So I started to feel like there was a disconnect there or something was happening, right? Sure. So I created a Black Planet page because that's where he was at. We didn't have Facebook and Instagram. It was another one we did have. I forgot.
This is probably like 2003, 2004. If we go back to this, MySpace, Black Planet.
MySpace. Yeah. MySpace was out. He was on there too, but Black Planet was more like dating. You will be on there making your profile to date. So I made a profile, right? And I think, so it was kind of like you could kind of DM people. It was a call DM back then, but you can kind of message them. And so I created this profile looking like what I thought he was attracted to, and he bit, after I sent them a message. So we had this whole conversation, and I was living two lives because I would log on, and after we got the phone, I would log on and talk, and he talked about, I'm about to work from home, I'm going to do this, but he'd be engaged in this conversation with this other girl that I completely made up, right? And so as we started talking, I started asking questions that I wanted to know, right? And so one of the questions was like, well, why are you so single? Because at this time, as I mentioned in the book, he had never gave me the title. We were just like in this situationship. Like we were just dating, but not in a relationship. And Chicago was really known for this back in the day. People call it, oh, we just friends. You know how you go to barbecue, like, oh, you bring your friend. That's what they do now. But back then, it was just like nobody said anything. But you knew you wasn't in a real relationship. It was just some situation you in. So, I asked him, like, why aren't you, in a relationship? And he was like, well, he gave a few little superficial reasons, but then he said, yeah, I really would like to be with someone that's my own complexion, my own color. And I was like, what? In my head, like, I'm not your complexion, he was kind of like a caramel color. He wasn't like, what you would call, yellow back then or light skin, whatever. Right. He was caramel. So I was just like, what? It just blew my mind because of course we had we did relationship stuff. You know what I mean? I didn't met your family. So it was really, I was so bamboozled that he felt that way. And that's what he was actually looking for, but never said it to me. Because I don't want you to be with me and I'm just second choice. That's not what I'm looking for. Right. And so it was a hard hit to my self-esteem, to say the least. Yeah. And I felt very, I felt betrayed. I felt very betrayed by that relationship. So we took a break in December. I want to say near May or June.
Anchor is the easiest way to make a podcast. It gives you everything you need in one place for free, which you can use right from your phone or computer. Creation tools allow you to record and edit your podcast so it sounds great. They'll even distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard everywhere: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and many more. You can easily make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership.
He was engaged. With this woman. I'm like, well, where did she come from? You was dating her? He's like, no, I was in grad school with her, blah, 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 whatever. So I was just like, whatever. But anyway, they end up, getting married and, having a great life. So,
that's a terrible story. Like a terrible experience, not like a terrible story because it's a terrible experience. But when you were telling me the story, I thought about, can the inverse be true too? Not that this is about me, because it's not, but growing up, it's crazy. There were Black women who did not, I could not date because, they wanted tall, dark, and handsome. I was tall enough, it just wasn't, just not dark enough, so, and I was, now I got like this tan.
It goes both sides.
Yeah, I worked really hard on this tan, so I'm like in between, Chris Brown's color and Usher's color. So but it was really a thing. And it really bothered me because I could not be identified or associated with the prototype Black male, right? It wasn't really until President Obama, I promise, when he was running for Senate. And
no, it could not have been that.
05, I started to really gain stupid confidence. But then when he ran for president and I saw how he was so comfortable being him, I was like, that's who I am. Everything. Just about his whole ordeal.
I was so happy that Michelle was the complexion she was.
And people loved it.
It's like we were like, yes, the brown girls was like, yes, we could be trophy wives, why are you looking us over? Why we have to look like Halle Berry or something. Halle
Berry, right. And I get it. And Michelle's a baddie. You probably shouldn't call a former first lady a baddie, but I'd be the first to admit Michelle Obama's a baddie. Anybody can call me on that. But no, it really was. When I saw President Obama, I saw it when he was running for president in 2008 and how he was so comfortable in his own skin. Something in me just awakened. It was it's surreal. And every time I see him, even when I disagree with President Obama, I'm like, man, but part of me is like, you go do it, brother. Something in me is just something in me flips. It's the wildest stuff. But it is something that we don't want to address, particularly and in all communities of color. It's in Asian communities of colors and Hispanic community of colors.
Very bad.
This idea of white validation, or this idea that the closer I get to European identity and features, naming and culture and mannerisms and whatever, the better off I'll be, or the better I am, right? The higher quality. And it is really sad because I think everybody is amazing. Everybody's unique. And it's okay to have a preference. Look, and I'll put this caveat. It's okay to have a preference. But when your preference is...
Like I say, when it's based on a color,
right. That's.
I had that argument with my friend all the time. She's like, "What if he just got a preference?" Child, okay, but a preference is not. I only date light skin, or I only even date dark skin.
Right.
That's not a preference, because what makes the other complexion any less than for you? If she had the same experience, same Black experience, and what if she went to the same college as you? I mean, hello. You will have a lot in common with her, so why not date her based on what y'all have in common other than her complexion. Like, that's crazy to me.
I know.
Like,
I know.
I would have amazing relationships with some people had they not looked at me and looked at my color first. I mean, amazing, because I had amazing friendships with them.
I believe it. I believe it because you mentioned the dog whistles, you mentioned the flirtatiousness. You kind of leave off and right before college or at college as far as any romantic interest. But you start giving now steps in the writing, steps. You basically for women who are dealing with this issue. So sorry, men. There are no advice. I was reading it, but I mean, it's universal. It can be used for them too. So how do we remedy this, right? Because you have experienced the worst. I mean, from being called all types of derogatory names, from your family being called and associated with, animals and things of that nature. Just a lot of disgusting behavior, and to not allow another human being to go down this path. What would your recommendation be as a community to go forward?
Well, I'm pretty too. So I would always suggest that, mothers put their daughters in my program, because I definitely address this. And it's not just for, dark-skinned girls. It's for all girls. Sure. I have had girls in my club and they're light skinned and they have issues with people treating them a certain way, like, oh, you're too light to be black, but black, so you can't be white. You know what I'm saying? So
right.
They go through the same things. And it's just, so I have this club that addresses all those issues for young girls. Now, if you can't get to me, there are some programs that offer, self-esteem. And the problem is, though, for me, is that I don't think parents check in enough with their kids, especially if they have a pretty daughter. I feel like, oh, she's pretty, she's got this, and I'm telling her she's pretty, but that is superficial confidence for her, because her confidence is now based on you saying she's pretty. I bet you, what you would never do, $1,000 to $1 million. If you start calling your child ugly and she's pretty, she's going to believe that she's ugly. Right? So her esteem is based on what you're telling her as a parent. She's going to need to learn for herself and establish it for herself. So you have to adjust it and have them say it. Like, I'm pretty. Like, that's why my organization is called I'm Pretty Too, because no matter what you do, you got to say those words. I'm pretty too. So, that was designed on purpose for people who say it. They have to say to themselves, I'm pretty too. It's really about affirmations. So that's how I was able to even recover even more, was I had to build me. And it's not too late. It's not too soon to do it as a little girl. So I do see some parents doing it, like on Instagram, and it'd be really cute. They get like 15,000. I'm sorry, 15,000, 20,000 likes on this. Yeah. But it should be done all the time, universally. Kids have to build themselves. If you build a child who's rock solid on themselves, nothing nobody say can bother them. They know it for themselves. Like, oh, whatever. I got this. I know this, and that it doesn't even go just for how they look on the outside, but when kids think that they're slow, in class, and they call them, names that we hate to use, right? No. Let your child say, I am smart. I got this. I may not write this sentence as fast as possible, but I can write a sentence. You know what I mean? Like, right. It's the smaller things that you have to keep encouraging them to say so that they can build their own self-confidence. It can't be based on your confidence. It has to be based on their own. But that's one major way I think that we can help the younger generation and yourself is affirmations.
I like that. I got a couple more questions, but just a word from our sponsors.
I literally just tried the best pre-workout on the planet. With Superpower pre-workout, you have increased focus and a power boost every single time you work out. It's not only packed with 225 milligrams of caffeine, but it also has citrulline and creatine. It's insane how much energy and focus I had during my workouts. If you're ready to take your workouts to the next level, then ditch your current pre-workout and get the Superpower pre-workout to be your own hero.
Y'all, it's the fall. This is the season that you get in shape. It is not. You do not wait for the spring. I'm telling you, the mistake everybody makes is I'm going to wait till the weather gets wait. You're going to wait. And when the weather gets warm, you're going to be fresh out of luck. And unless you got a good surgeon and you're going to get that, air tuck or water lipo, HD lipo, air scoped or Dr. Miami, Dr. Lee, whoever, you better get this pre-workout Superpower and get it on today. But look, I really want to go here. Do you think we value darker skinned individuals? Like, do we put people in buckets? Because, and I brought it up earlier, can the inverse be true? One of the arguments in athletics, the Steph Curry LeBron debate is, to the quintessential fan, hardcore, loves a more physical game. Steph Curry isn't appreciated because he doesn't have the traditional landscape, right? Comes from a 2-parent home. He was already a millionaire before he got to the NBA. Dad played in the NBA. Very, very light skinned, not 6'8", 6'9", 250, can't jump out of a gym, but can shoot the ball from 100 feet out like a free throw. And if you ask who would you rather have 10, 15 years ago, some might say, of course, LeBron. But the reasons for wasn't based on the game. So I bring that up as a point of reference.
Yeah.
Do you think that people are placed in buckets? Like, I prefer this category of person to look like this. I prefer this category of individual to look like that. And therefore not placing true value on intrinsicness and keep feeding into the same stereotypes of this colorism in which we were discussing, or which we are discussing.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Sure.
And how can I frame this? I want to frame it without talking too much. Like, I don't want to talk your whole show.
Do it. It's your show.
We have to take it back. And they say 400 years, but I think slavery has been longer now because the years are getting older. So let's take it back though to slavery. And they were selling slaves, right? Remember? They would get on a platform and they would sell them off. $5, $3, whatever.
Yeah.
Based on muscular. And they thought that darker skinned people, for some reason, were stronger people, right?
Sure. Yeah.
But, and this is not to say, I know, did my screen phrase? That's not to say that people of other complexions are not strong. This was something in their head, right? So, we now realize that all Black people do have a certain strength. We're good in a lot of sports other than other races, right? We've come to that conclusion. You can agree, correct? Like we're good in other sports across boards, no matter what complexion we are. Right. But there's this idea that dark-skinned people are stronger. The same idea that plays in what your sports analogy was is like when we're at the hospital and we're having kids, the nurse don't check on us as much because they feel like, oh, they got this. They're strong. They can get through it. No, we're still women. We're still going to be, we still have weakness and pains, but it's this ideology that we're stronger because we're dark. And also because we're Black, when we go back to just racism too, but it plays also into like when they did buy all the slaves, right? They separated house and field.
Right.
The lighter was in the house. They were treated preppy. They were able to get groomed and look nice. You know, the darker people were in the field. The stronger people were in the field. The stronger men they felt were in the field doing all this labor, right? Because that's what they thought. So I think then they were valued back in the day for strength and knowing that they were strong. I think now in society, we're not valued. Like, I think we just exist to me. I don't know. I don't know how to put it. But when they see dark-skinned people walking down the street or whatever, they clutch their purse a little more because of someone who's dark and looks kind of like, you know, big, like they'll overtake you, you know, so they get intimidated, you know. I've heard this happen in interviews. I have people, you know, I have all complexion friends. I mean, I'm not that person, right?
Right.
Because I know people who only still hang with just people that look like them, you know. It's crazy. But needless to say, they have had in the interviews felt like the interviewer was intimidated by them. You know, so yes, to your question, back then we were valued because of what they thought we could bring to their table as far as work and, you know, profitability. But now I feel like we are not as valued as, you know, all Black people can bring profitability and value at the in the work type, you know, blue collar positions. Right. You know, they realize, oh wait, that's not a good idea. That's not the right ideology that only dark skinned people are strong. They're all strong. They're all great. But so that took away that value there. But as far as us, it did not. You know, that mentality of saying, oh, we're all the same, did not, somewhere it got misconstrued. Gotcha. And, you know, and then the news, the media, the movies, none of that helped because they only displayed lighter skinned women. So we started to devalue ourselves as well. Like, oh, well, maybe, you know, clutching my pearls, maybe we are not, you know, important, and we're not supposed to be seen. We should stay in the background, you know. And then they'll play shows where the wife is beautiful and light, and she has all this pretty hair, and the husband cheats with a dark skinned woman who happens to be ghetto and all that. Like, all dark skinned women ain't ghetto. And you know, when they play that part, someone was mad about something that Issa Rae had did, a character, or it was an Issa Rae or somebody else. It might have been on Sister or somebody. It's like they always display the darker woman as being kind of ghetto. And I'm like, all of us ain't ghetto. You know, some of us is very bougie.
Yeah, I was thinking of, we brought that up. I was thinking of, oh my God, Power and Ghost's ex-wife, Tasha. Right? Tasha was never portrayed as the trophy wife.
Right. Or delicate. They made her hard.
But she was hard. Like, she was. Yes. But Lala's character, even though she gets killed by Tasha, but it's, you know, it's portrayed as a delicate friend, ride or die, loyal, you know, so.
They showed her, all right, they showed a little hood side of her, but it wasn't dominant.
No, it wasn't a dominant trait. Right.
Neither was Angela. Angela was very soft and, you know, and it's just like, what are you guys feeding us? Right. Like the same way with.
And Angela was actually the crooked cop. She was actually which is wild. Right. Which is wild.
So they need to bring that show back. I'm glad you brought that up. But that was a good example of what I'm trying to say, because it's all, and it's not. It's present often, right. You know. So I have had dark skinned women that I talk to, and they're like, they love the Woman King, right?
Yeah.
They love Wakanda, right? because they were able to see themselves in leading roles and looking beautiful, and their features were elevated. And it was like, you know, they didn't have to look European and dark, you know, because that's another thing, you know, European features and dark skin, they become models, and they're highlighted a lot most of the times, but it's like those features too. It's so much, Cody. It's so much. It's so much to dig into, but at the end of the day, all my thing is answering that question that I put in there is, if she's beautiful too, and y'all relate and y'all got a good vibe, why do you not marry her, but you marry someone else just because they're of a different complexion? That's it. That's all I want to know. So if you can answer that for me, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I don't know something. Maybe something different in the.
I don't know. I can't. I wasn't taught to. I don't have an answer for the masses. I was taught. My mother just taught me, you know, if you love her, that's who you love. And I didn't have like a push to go. A bias. Yeah, a bias. You know, like I knew that I wanted, you know, a woman of color. I knew that I wanted a black woman, but I didn't know that I didn't necessarily, you know, did ABC. But at the same time, I was like, God, if you wanted to give me somebody else, I would also be happy. I was willing to submit to the will of the Lord. Right. And it was more of an issue of faith, right, for me. But it wasn't like, you know, like, yeah, I don't. No, right. I mean, because, and, you know, I joke with my wife all the time. I was like, if you look at my dating, and we say it like, if you look at who I dated before and then who my wife's dated, it doesn't really mirror us, right? Like, you know, I, you know, everybody tend to date, end up marrying somebody that wasn't their type sometimes. Right. I mean, it's really the Lord. That was their type, that they was picking that same person all the time. Yeah. So I mean, you know, it's one of those things I think is taught at home, and because my mother didn't teach me this ignorance and this bigotry, I didn't take it with me in life. Good and bad starts at home. And I'll say that I really think good and bad starts at home. And a lot of the crap that we're seeing, whether it's in politics and business, is because of some stuff that was done at home, stuff that was allowed to be said at home. And laws can't change family. You know, that's a cultural thing. And that's something that has to be discussed. And that's why we have shows like this. So where you can have those conversations with your little ones growing up, you know, they don't resume the same ignorant behavior. But all of that starts at home. Carrie, if they wanted to get the book, they said, look, I need this book. I need to show it with my youth, my girls. I need to bring it up in our girls chat, our book club. We need to really get down to colorism, because I do think I think it is. I don't think it is. I know it is. It is a virus, and it is negatively affecting. That's a good word. Advancement. It is. It is. And I think a lot of people, they don't realize it. And they don't realize it. I think they're not happy literally because of this thing. And what I mean by that, like, they're not where they could be, or who, you know, because, oh, well, you know, like, stupid stuff. So where can they get the book? Easy. www.carrie, Carrie, not with a K, like people like to do K, but www.carrie, Carrie, Jemii, Jemii.com. And it will be on Amazon in a couple of days, but I prefer you get it from my site. If you do get it from my site, 9 times, well, not, I'm gonna say that. That's a high ratio. If you get it from my site now, before Tuesday, when are you gonna put this out? Pre-order. It'll be out when it airs Monday, the 14th. Oh, okay. No, I'll be done with pre-order. Okay. So pre-order ends tomorrow or today. Today the 8th. I think it ends today. Okay. So that one, those I know for sure I'll be signing. But so you can get it from Amazon, but I prefer you get it from my site, because Amazon, they do get in the pockets. So if you come straight to me, I appreciate it. And also, if you want to get a copy in person, my book launch will be in Chicago
And you can go to my Facebook page, Carrie_Jemii, to actually RSVP for that. And I will give you a copy personally from hand to hand on that day. And that's going to be on Black Friday, November 25th, from the hours of 5 to 7:30.
Where is that going to take place, the book launch?
It's at the Elephant Room Gallery on 702 something, but on Wabash. Yeah. But the address is in the RSVP. I can't remember it by heart. But it's if you want to look it up, if you're a Google person like me, the Elephant Room Gallery.
Y'all, so go to the book launch. If you're in the Chicagoland area, I'm sure you'll be out of money by Black Friday. This is the last gift you have to get, if not the first gift. Go get the book. Go to the website, carriejemii.com. Order pre-sales. And if you're just an Amazonian like I am, you want to wait till then, order 2 because Amazon gets their fee. Buy the book. Support this author. Get supported. And if you want to keep seeing amazing podcasts, amazing hosts like who we have on today, and you want to keep seeing me grow this beard out, you know what you got to do. Subscribe to the YouTube page. Come on. Now we got the titles, y'all. CVMK. All you got to do is put it in the search tab. It'll pop up. Best website, best site where the best pre-workouts, proteins, BCAAs, creatine, super thick, super power, warrior thirst, www.cvmkglobal.store, Twitter, Cody's Life, Cody's_life1. It is what it is _show on Instagram, CVMK_global, all the stuff, CVMK33. It's like a list goes on. It's so many, it's just hard to keep up with all this. But until next time, guys, thanks.
Thank you for watching. And if you want to keep seeing amazing content, leaders, strategists, business influencers, life influencers, political, religious, all the above, just amazing, super hot fire, you know what you got to do. Subscribe to the YouTube page at CVMK. And on all platforms where podcasts are heard, Apple, Spotify, Anchor, Stitch, Google, where else? Patreon, Spreaker, you name it, we're there. iHeartRadio. Also, connect with your boy on Instagram, CVMK33. It is what it is _show, CVM_global.